What's up, guys? Mega Bleeder here with another episode of Mechanical Mastery Plus. I'm going to get you caught up on what I did between the episodes, and then we're going to get started on some new automations. So between the episodes, I did get the Bottles O Enchanting automated. It turns out that using the dissolution chamber, it needs the industrial foregoing essence, whereas the fluid encapsulator, it can use any of the experience. And if we look, most of our experience is the mob grinding utils fluid experience. So that's why I ended up going with this. I set up a simple automation here, cooking sand into glass. That's passive now. This is also passive, creating our glass bottles that gets put into here and put into our drawer so that we have access to it. I also automated PhytoGrow. That is so that we can fully automate crops over here. I needed wheat, chorus fruit we're going to need in the future. I went ahead threw potatoes, carrots, and poppies in. Poppies we use for red dye. Over here, I got into Flux Networks. So if we go and look at the quest, we just needed to put 100 million FE into a task screen, and that gave us the flux block that we then use in here with the obsidian coated redstone to make flux dust. And this is used to make everything from Flux Networks. We didn't necessarily need wireless power. We already had it using the gates from Power, but I did want to increase our power storage. So that is set up here. Also, I don't remember if I had crafted this time. No, I did not. So fluid encapsulator set up with latex. This is used to automate the add-ons back here. Just a really simple process. It's really quick to be able to process these. Like if I say order 5 of these, I'm not even sure that I'll get there in time. Yeah, it crafted them super fast. Those add-ons get used. I place these here as markers so I would remember what to update you guys on. These add-ons I have set up being used over here in our industrial foregoing wing. Over here I've got an animal feeder that's bringing in wheat. I just put some Fluix cables in here just that way this thing didn't fill up with wheat for no reason. So that feeds the adult cows, making our baby cows. And then I have some animal baby separators here. So here it's moving babies from this pen into this pen. And then this one is moving adults from this pen into this pen, where they will then be dealt with using the mob slaughter factory, getting us pink slime and liquid meat. Also over here, I did automate the dissolution chamber. We needed this for another tier of add-on. Not all of the add-ons, the range add-ons, are available with these Cube.js recipes. And I also automated netherrack. The netherrack automation we needed over here to be able to make cinder flour. So now this is also on passive. And I did automate some more things over here. I did move our bone meal setup. I've got these set up because they are used crafting the ultimate control circuits. We needed those for the installer kits, and I also automated our basic enriching factory. And I did also place down matter receivers in the mechanism and create side. So now we can just teleport right over to create. Along with the create automations, I did automate the crushing wheels. So that's all set up here, and it's set up using pretty pipes, and there are filters here. So if I wanted to, I could say, hey, give me, it's going to craft 2 crushing wheels anyway, but we can see those get exported into there. Bam, and we've got crushing wheels on automation. Over here, more create automations. I did move the blaze cakes over here, so you can see I'm exporting the eggs, the sugar, and the cinder flour. Those are coming in here to make our cake bases. The drawer pulls it out, pulls it over here into the depot, and then the lava is being exported here and filled up. And we've got blaze cakes on passive. I also moved our ender pearl automation. We do use ender pearls in the production of Enderium. So this here is an alloy of the diamonds, the lead, and ender pearls. So we had something like 11,000 ender pearls, and now we're down to just 4096 that are being created in here. I also automated prismarine shards. That's made here with the depot using the campfires. I was trying to play around with sea lanterns for lighting, and I just didn't like it quite as much as I thought I was going to. Over here, I did go ahead and automate uranium. So now that's fully upgraded. The drawer is full of uranium. And I automated netherite scrap. I'm not processing the netherite scrap directly into netherite. You can see we need it for a machine frame and just other things. So I figured it would be just as simple to automate the netherite scrap and then craft it up into netherite blocks when needed. I did remove the old automation system that was over here that was producing us money, as well as added in a new mob farm here. So I was testing out here. The drawer is full over there. I'm going to put some void upgrades on that. I did place down some delightful dirt here along with some of the cursed earth, trying to get more pink slime and more meat, but they don't work all that well, and I'm not sure why. Maybe if it's too low of a Y level, I'm not really certain. I also automated our chicken eggs down here, so we just moved our chickens over, give them a nice little spot to look at, just to live. This has the chicken nest. We've got a puller here with a void upgrade, so we're storing a ton of eggs. In our power area, which is something that we need to be looking at very soon, we can see here I hooked up plugs to our power producers to add power to the network. And they are all kind of operating here. We can see it pulling in power, pulling in about 40,000 RF per tick from this guy. And I was playing around with power storage. So these are the power cells from RF Tools Power. So here in this cube, I didn't necessarily need all these power cables, but they're there. So we're holding 1.28 trillion, I believe, no, billion. 1.28 billion RF in here. And over here, just in these, what do we have? 11 gargantuan flux storage. We're storing 1.4 billion, right? 100,000 million billion. So 1.4 billion versus this huge thing holding 1.2 billion. From there, I am still exporting using a flux point going into our ender cell because most of our things are still hooked up with gates, and I'll probably leave it that way. I was playing around with trying to add some more cosmetic stuff to the base, so I've got these two big kind of turbine fan blade things here. I'm not certain if I'll leave these or maybe if I'll add more, space them out. I'm not 100% certain, but what I would like to do today is in mechanism get our thermal evaporation plants set up, because with these we're going to turn water into brine and then brine into lithium. Lithium dust is used to make the basic induction cells and providers, and then it's also used for something else to make tritium. This is going to be used for DT fuel. We do need DT fuel in the future for our recipe sequence to be able to make some of the creative items. So we'll need to have a bunch of that stored. Apparently we can make bedrock, respawn anchor. Huh, okay. That's very interesting. We can make bedrock and then there's no use for bedrock. All right. But these basic induction cells, they get upgraded all the way up the chain to be able to make an energy trash can, which we might end up needing. I'm not 100% certain, but these are used to make the induction matrix for some big time power storage. The problem is these are all craftable, not too big of a deal. The problem is the induction casing. There's only one recipe for this, and it's miniaturization crafting. And it needs fission reactor casings, steel casings, blocks of netherite, and the ultimate energy cube. And we only get 8 of them. And we also have to use the advanced mechanical essence. So I think what I'll end up doing is automate this in the future. The netherite isn't a big deal. The ultimate energy cube, not a big deal. The steel casing we can buy. And the fission reactor casing we can also buy once we get into tier 4. but I think that we're going to have to get into create our next permit. So to be able to make this, we're going to need the inert advanced mechanical essence, which we have the refined fuel, we have elite control circuits, we have improved mechanical essence, have the bottle of enchanting, we've got blaze cakes, no big deal. Last thing we'll need is the fissile fuel pellet, and then we'll also have to get into the mechanical magenta pigment from Craft Tweaker. We'll need mechanical blue pigment, mechanical red. Each one of these are made with the same process using the blue lumen paintball and the pigment extractor. The blue lumen paintball is made with blue paintballs and glowstone. The blue paintballs are made with matter balls and dye. Matter balls we get from a matter condenser. So this isn't too difficult to get through there, but to be able to make the fissile fuel pellet, we are going to need fluorite and we're going to need fissile fuel. And that's not too big of a deal using the uranium hexafluoride, uranium oxide, hydrofluoric acid, sulfuric acid, yada, yada, yada. Now the sulfuric acid we can also use for ore processing, and I do want to upgrade to this in the future because if we put in 9 gold, we actually get out 30 gold, I want to say, because each one of these dirty gold slurries, each 200 millibuckets turns into a gold crystal, which can then be processed into a gold ingot with a 30% chance to double it. And we could upgrade that. There's an additional 20% chance and then a 5% chance with copper. If we used... There's got to be a way to be able to look at these. Yes, here we go. Pulverizing catalyst. Once we get up to the enriched basalic reagent, there's a 2.5 times multiplier. So we can get up to like 60 times ore processing or something like that. I'm not terribly good with math and didn't sit down and figure it out or Google it to see exactly how much we would get, but it would really take our ore processing through the moon, and I'd like to get that set up. So what we need to do today is get lithium set up and then get fissile fuel set up. So what I'm going to do, if we just teleport quickly over, I think that's what we're going to do in this area here. We're going to need lots and lots of lithium. And then moving forward, we're also going to need tons of heavy water. And the best way to get heavy water is from a pump. Heavy water can be extracted from a water source block via an electric pump with a filter upgrade installed. So at mechanism, the filter upgrade goes in a pump, and then the pumps can pump that out, and then the heavy water gets produced. And we can process that into oxygen and deuterium, and then deuterium can get mixed with tritium to make DT fuel. But tons of heavy water, tons of tritium, tons of lithium is what we're going to be tackling today. So I am going to build some of these thermal evaporation blocks. To build these, you'll need 2 valves per, a controller per. We're going to set the first one back here. And then if we do, say, water input here, and then output our brine there, we'll need to surround this all the way around and put a controller there. Now it does have to be a minimum height. I don't know if this will be enough. This will be enough. So what we have to do is pump water in and also give it heat. So in mechanism, there is a resistive heater. Yes, the resistive heater. So what we're going to do, because we're going to use a whole bunch of these, it takes tin, steel casings, and the energy tablet. I'm not sure if we have the energy tablet on AutoCraft. It doesn't look like we do. So we'll do that. So the resistive heater, and actually, you know what? We're going to need one more valve. Because the heater also needs, that's going to go there. We're going to have to rotate that like that. Okay, so the heater will actually give heat to this. We can see here the temperature is going up, and the heater got charged while it was in my inventory. And we can also up the heat here, so we can say, hey, take 200 FE per tick, and it will work faster. If we throw a gate on here, it'll turn on, and now it's creating more heat, which will then process the water into brine faster. So what I'm going to do now is grab some cables. Why did I just hear... Oh, it must have coming from up there. I heard a blaze. I am going to grab cables, run some cables over here, probably from underneath. This should be a cable tunnel. Yep. So I'll run some cables over here and get water hooked up and get some storage hooked up for our brine. And I'm going to build a couple more of these towers, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I did a little bit of work. We hit a couple speed bumps. I went through a couple iterations of this build, but let me show you. So what I have here is 10 thermal evaporation plants for each process. So I've got 10 here that are turning water into brine. So what I've got back here, these are individual little sub networks. I've been finding that these sub networks I'm having a lot more fun with. So what we have is a storage device saying, hey, we can only store water here. And the pumps are hooked up directly on an interface. So they are pumping in water that go into the interface. And the only place that they can store water is right here in the thermal evaporation plant. So what's happening there is it's going in here. The resistive heater is heated up and is converting the water into brine. And then I have another subnetwork. We can see here the quartz fiber is separating the two. And underneath, if we follow it, there is another subnetwork down here. These are all separated, and they're all individual from each other. Break a couple of these blocks. So up here, we've got another quartz fiber separating. So on this side, I didn't highlight this, there's an import bus with acceleration cards sucking up all that brine into the subnetwork. And the only place that it can store on the subnetwork is this storage bus, which is this other thermal evaporation plant. So we can see brine coming in, it's processing it instantly into the liquid lithium, and then that's coming out through this import bus. I had originally designed this using an extra controller, and I had hooked it up down here and hooked it up to this water drawer, but that water drawer, our water system is not fast enough to supply these. And realistically, these 4 pumps aren't either. We can see that the water isn't even backed up there. And it's producing 403, or capable, I think, of producing 403 millibuckets per tick. But these are only pumping out. Is there a way to see it? I think there's not a good way to see it, but these are basically producing a millibucket per tick, I believe. And they are fully upgraded. So full speed upgrades, full energy upgrades. So that's coming over here, and then that gets imported into this system, gets stored via this storage bus in this huge dynamic tank. So you can see here we've got 201 million millibuckets, which is 201,000 full buckets of liquid lithium that are being stored here. And this is just a huge dynamic tank from Mechanism. I originally had all these kind of wired together, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to separate them. So they're all basically clones of each other, these networks. Now, I did have a problem because a network by itself can support up to 8 channels, even if I believe even if we were to put down a dense cable, I don't think that we'd be able to support 16 channels or 32 channels, but maybe I'll experiment with that and something in the future. But these blue cables are their own network. The yellow cables are their own network, and there's only 2 devices on it. The problem that I ran into is these orange cables are hooked up to a network that is not, and this doesn't need to be dense. Let's get JEI back because we need one more small cable. Yeah, there we go. And I like the way that this looks a lot better. So what I had to do was set up an energy acceptor. So that's powering all of these networks. And we can see this yellow sub network is being fed through this quartz fiber cable, which these only transfer power. But the problem is the orange network, because I've got 10 towers and this storage bus here actually has 11 channels that it needs. So what I had to do is separate the orange into 2 sub networks. So these are being imported through this import bus, and they are allowed to store on this storage bus, which is hooked up to this interface. So this interface, the only place that it is allowed to store along with these import buses is on this storage bus. So I had to create a little kind of sub network bridge here. So this storage bus takes a channel, and then there are 7 towers here that have import buses that take a channel. And essentially, just to expand it a little bit, if it doesn't make that much sense, we've got the one network coming in on this side and one exiting on this side. So these are coming in through this cable and are hooked up to this storage bus. And then power is being transferred via the quartz fiber cable right here, right there. So these networks are being powered, but they are still separate from each other. And then this interface is the only storage destination for this storage bus. And because there is a storage destination here, it's allowed to store in there. So we've got a subnetwork here on blue, a subnetwork here on yellow, and then also 2 separate subnetworks on this orange. I suppose I could change this color, but the blue is for water, yellow is for the brine, and then orange is for the lithium, which you can see is more orange. So that's why all of these are set up, or that's how I ended up with this setup like this. Took me a little bit of time. I added in some decorations with the lights here, and I did even go as to far, the orange cable was running across the ground, but I didn't like it because then you'd have to like jump over it. I didn't really like that, so I moved it there. I put these here. I thought they kind of looked cool, like from standing on this side, you'd be able to still come here and inspect this. So the problem with the lithium, if I could ever learn how to spell it, the lithium dust is made in the chemical crystallizer, which isn't a big deal, except for the fact that it needs the advanced mechanical essence. So we cannot craft this yet because we still need the inert mechanical essence. So what I've got saved here is the process of creating our fissile fuel pellet. So we're going to need fissile fuel in a purification chamber with fluorite dust. The fluorite dust is pretty simple. We've got a pulverizer that is passively making this, and that's over here in this drawer. So these pulverizers are just running full tilt. I did put 3 of them down. In the future, if we still have an issue, I'll bump this out and put another one in there. I just know that we'll probably be using a lot of this fluorite. This does get used across a couple of different recipes. So we could use it to produce polonium. We need it here for polonium pellets and plutonium pellets, and then also with this fissile fuel. And we're going to need this to be just on a passive process there. So that will just be running the entire time. So to be able to make that, the fissile fuel pellet, to make the fissile fuel, we're going to need uranium hexafluoride in an isotopic centrifuge. This is a chemical infuser. The uranium oxide is really simple. Yellow cake uranium into a chemical oxidizer. Yellow cake uranium is just the uranium that we have in an enrichment chamber. No big deal. The hydrofluoric acid comes from sulfuric acid mixed with more fluorite. I'll probably use... It doesn't look like these are more efficient either way, but I'll probably export fluorite blocks just to... because it'll probably process faster. This doesn't tell me how long it takes to process. The sulfuric acid is pretty simple. We could do this item to gas, I think in a purification chamber, but I'm not certain. But that is pretty slow because it only gets us 2 millibuckets per sulfur. So what we'll end up doing is water vapor, which is just water that is decondensated, and then sulfur trioxide, which is just oxygen. We've got plenty of oxygen, and sulfur dioxide. sulfur dioxide comes from sulfur, but instead of the sulfur turning from 1 into 2, if we use the chemical oxidizer, we get 100 out of it. So it's 50 times more efficient. So I figured what we do is set up over here the fissile fuel production. It doesn't take up a ton of room other than these base ingredients. The sulfur dioxide will need a bunch of these chemical oxidizers, and then the other one, which is the uranium oxide, will need a bunch of these chemical oxidizers for the yellow cake uranium. So what I have here is the isotropic centrifuge, and this is what we're going to set up this episode. Let's put away some of these things. So the uranium hexafluoride is going to come from a chemical infuser. I did set up a bunch of crafting recipes. I'm almost certain I'm going to need 2 of these. I do want to set these up with some buffers in between. So let's place that there, put the chemical infuser there, and we're also going to use an ultimate chemical tank, which we'll place there because we are going to process these separately. Now, there's not a gas, but I believe we can import gases with these. Item P2P tunnel. I'm pretty certain we can use the import bus because Applied Energistics has mechanism support. Where is it at? Fluid storage, portable chemical. Yeah, portable chemical storage. These are made with the chemical cell housings, which are made with osmium. So I'm pretty certain we can store and transfer fluid here. Applied Mechanistics, is that what that is? Mechanistics, chemical P2P tunnel. So we could store some of these here, but I think we're just going to use the pipes from mechanism. We have the mechanical pipe. What's the other one? They're tubes. Let's set these up for auto crafting. We're going to need to edit that because it needs to be normal glass. The reason it fills in that other glass is because this glass isn't on auto crafting. We'll just hit uses on these upgraded, and we'll store them here. Okay, so the uranium hexafluoride gets mixed. That's the uranium oxide, which is made in the chemical oxidizer. Let's go ahead and start. Let's get 8 of these. Actually, let's get 9, because the uranium oxide is made with this yellow cake uranium in an enrichment chamber. And if we upgrade all the way to an ultimate enriching factory, this will process 9 at a time. So let's take all of these out, and we are going to place them. Let's see, we'll have a space there, a storage block, a space. So we'll go right here. Right there. So 1, 2. Excellent. And then we're going to place these down like that. Yes. There we go. And then the enrichment chamber, I did not make a crafting recipe for that. So the chamber, enrichment chamber, will just get 1, but we will also get installers, 1 of each. Let's go. I'm not certain how many of them we're going to need. I know that we're going to probably at least need 2 sets though. So basic, advanced, elite, ultimate, and then we'll put this guy right here. No, we're going to space it out. He'll go here. So let's upgrade him fully and then say you're going to split. So the yellow cake uranium will be an import of just taking uranium in here. So we'll run a cable over. It'll probably come through. We might take it through the floor, or we might put some pillars here. I'm not 100% certain yet, but what we will do is an exporter, and that will be, let's clear these, input, output, and this will be uranium. Okay, so those are going to get pushed out into here. And if we could probably just use pipes, the universal pipes, or I'll use universal pipes just because they look better. Those will all connect in here. And then from this side, it'll be the uranium oxide that comes out. And that is a gas, so we're going to need tubes. So let's get a stack of the ultimate tubes. How many did I craft? Oh, my finger slipped, so we've got a lot of these. Oh, these are not pressurized tube, right? That's a gas. Did I face these the wrong way? Item. Yes, these are faced the wrong way. So if we face them this way, and I suppose actually I could still use these universal pipes, because the universal pipes do, if I hit extract on this, they do support gas. Do I want to do that? I don't think I do. And this is going to need a drawer. This will need a tank. So if we go drawer there, that will store our yellow cake uranium. And I'm putting these down that way we can store extra resources. If we store the process resources in the intermediary steps, it'll be really easy to look and see where we have bottlenecks. So that'll go in here, and that takes care of the yellow cake uranium and the uranium oxide. So now we need hydrofluoric acid, which comes from the chemical dissolution chamber. So if we store that there, hope this is going to be enough room, the dissolution chamber, and that hydrofluoric acid is a gas. And if we look, so it's going to be sulfuric acid coming in. If you're ever wondering about the orientation of these machines, if you just look at the recipe, if you place down the machine, this is how it's going to go through. So sulfuric acid and items will come through from the left, and then it will output the hydrofluoric acid on the right. And I believe we can toggle the automatic ejection, and that would work. So you can build these systems really compact, but I don't want to build them really compact, because if we need to add anywhere like here, then we can easily do that. We could easily stack these machines vertically if we need, or we could add another stack of these machines without too big of an issue. So the hydrofluoric acid needs sulfuric acid and fluorite blocks. The fluorite, let's say we're going to do with an export bus, and we will bring that in, let's say from the back. And let's also, can we move this like this? Can we rotate it? No. So let's put our items in through the back. There's uranium going to go in here. And then over here is going to get the fluorite blocks, which we do have. Yep, we do have, and we do have 17,000 fluorite dust. Okay, so the sulfuric acid is going to be a mix of sulfur trioxide and water vapor, and that's going to come from another chemical infuser. Is going to get placed, we need storage there. So that is going to be hydrofluoric acid, sulfuric acid, and that is another gas. So place that guy there, and I want these all to be facing forward that way. So you there, and then you're going to need water vapor coming in on this side, which is going to come from the rotary condensator. So the sulfuric acid comes from water vapor, so water comes in on this side, gas goes out on that side. So if we place that down, he should connect. And then over here, we're going to need lots of water. So we'll place down one pump for now, and also the mechanical pipe. Mechanical pump there. And that's not correct, but it would go around this way. Yeah, I can live with that. So the sulfuric acid is made with sulfur trioxide, which is going to need to be mixed from the chemical infuser. So another infuser, and that's going to go here, correct. And we'll need another tank. That tank will still face this way just to make it easy. So gas tube, and then on this, he's going to need oxygen coming in from the left, which the easiest way to get this oxygen is going to be connecting our ore processing, because all of our ore processing, the process is ingots. I can get over here. These are all connected up to this pressurized reaction chamber. And I think what I'll actually do is connect this to a tank or maybe an interface. I'm not sure if the interface can store gases, but if it can, I'll connect it to an interface and use one of those applied mechanistics storage cells, one of these guys, to store all of that oxygen. And then I can just export that here. Let's see if the exporter will let me do that. It'll let me put oxygen in there. So you will need to be oxygen. Can we do, not liquid, but gas? Yes, we can. So if you're ever wondering which one is which, like in here, oh, which sulfur trioxide is this? There's a liquid version, and the one that doesn't say liquid is gaseous. So oxygen will come in there, and then on this side, it will need to be the sulfur dioxide, which is going to come again from our chemical oxidizers, and those are going to come from a tank that'll be right here, and then we'll need 9 of those. Another set. Missing oak slabs. There's always what needs oak slabs? Oh, there's a barrel recipe of all the things that we're crafting here. We're over here making fissile fuel for a nuclear reactor, and the thing that we're missing in our recipe tree is oak slabs. So let's craft up 9 of these real quick. Place these guys down if I can land on here. So the pressurized tube. Did I place these down wrong? I did place these down wrong because I want them facing the other way this time. There we go. So the pressurized tube, removing our gas, that'll go into here again with another tank right there. And then lastly, the sulfur comes in through another chemical oxidizer. And let's just double check. What is that yellow cake uranium? That is 250 millibuckets per process in the chemical oxidizer, and then the sulfur dioxide is 100. So we're going to need twice as many for this process. We're going to need twice as many because if we do sulfur dioxide and where is it at? Uranium oxide. These are all going into here. That's 1 millibucket. That's 100 to 1,000. So that's 10 to 1, 1 to 1. That's 1 to 1. So I think, well, you know what? We're going to try these, but I think this might be the bottleneck. And then from there, we're going to put down another drawer. We're going to need advanced mechanical pipes on here. And then in the middle, which would be this guy, another drawer, just for symmetry's sake. And then the sulfur dioxide will just be sulfur. And the sulfur dust, it's a machine output? I don't think that's correct. So we'll need another export bus to export sulfur. And that's sulfur dust. So we have sulfur dust. That's such a pain. Because the sulfur dust, it only comes from the mechanism sulfur. We cannot get... I have a dye mixer, right? Yeah, let's place this down because I'm curious. Yeah, no, there's no sulfur in here. Okay, so that doesn't work. So the problem is going to be getting enough sulfur. So I'm going to have to set up another process upstairs with that pulverizer to do that. So let's put that sulfur over here, the sulfur dust. Because the only way to get that is through a pulverizer. So I'm going to move that setup up there, actually. So now what we will need to do, and I think I'm just going to run a cable here. Yes. Yeah, I'll just run a cable down right here behind this light, and then I'll connect it down through the bottom to each one of these tunnels. That'll work just fine. So you, and also you. So I'll connect a P2P right here. Let's grab our P2Ps, a bunch of cables, a bunch of purple cables, because these guys are going to connect with a P2P. And there's only 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so there it is, fissile fuel production. Everything's all powered, everything's all set up. I did go ahead and set up some gas storage over here. So we've got 1 for oxygen, 1 for hydrogen, and 1 for fissile fuel. And then in our ore processing, I did add in these entangled blocks to be able to store the oxygen and hydrogen. So all of these setups are now mirrored this way. Our electrolytic separators are all absolutely upgraded. So we can see we're getting tons of hydrogen, tons of oxygen, and then we have some fissile fuel that is stored. Now, the one problem that we do have is that if we turn all of this on, I did install upgrades, only 3 of the 4, but if we turn everything on over here, our power is dropping, so we're not making enough power to be able to turn all of this on. Some of these, the chemical infuser, we can see this is using like 100,000 FE per tick. This is a lot. And then the isotopic centrifuge uses a lot too, 200,000. So we're burning through a bunch of power here. So I'm just going to disconnect these, and we are going to have to tackle our power situation next episode. I did go ahead and set up automations here. So I've got export bus. We're exporting the blaze cake into a clicker. We're exporting the other ingredients for the inert advanced mechanical essence into this mixer, everything except for the fissile fuel pellet. Over here in our mechanism wing, we are exporting our fluorite dust and our fissile fuel to make fissile fuel pellets. Those are being stored in here. So all we have to do is add the fissile fuel pellet to this. That should export. So let's go ahead and link that drawer, linking tool. Now we can link this guy. There we go. So now if we go over here, now it's mixing up. And now we're getting our inert mechanical essence. The refined fuel is a little bit slow to export. We might hook up a tank to be able to export that faster. Let's... because we don't want to store a ton of these. We'll pop that guy there, and then we are going to lock it. And we also need to link this one, but I'm pretty certain this is not going to reach. Yeah, that's not going to reach. So we're going to have to put another controller over here. Here. The linking tool. Bam. Now we've got that, but I think in our quest line, we need 3 chemical infusers in our inventory. Okay. And now we got that experience. Put these back in here. We need to grab a pellet. We can do that by this way. And then, excellent. So we've got the inert mechanical essence. We'll pick that guy up, and we can't put him back just yet, so we'll just throw it in the system. All right. So the next thing that we're going to have to do to make the advanced mechanical essence is get a painting machine, a pigment mixer, and a pigment extractor. So we'll have to craft this mechanical magenta pigment here. So that's something we're going to do next episode. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I really, really appreciate the response to the video and the channel. And always remember, all likes, comments, and subscribes are super, super appreciated. See you guys next time.